Hello, I'm Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and welcome to a roundtable for 7 Days to Die. If you haven't seen this game, you should. It's a pretty darn good game. A cross between survival, zombie survival with Minecraft, and it's a lot of fun. So they have, and they've made a lot of changes. When it first came out, we could all see the potential, but it had a lot of bugs. It still has a lot of bugs, but there's a lot of new stuff going on with it. Welcome to the guys here in the Hangout. Hello. So,
hi there.
Oh yes, and yeah, for those mentioning it, yeah, I did shave.
At least you have a chin.
Changing things up. Yes. So, yeah.
I don't know if I like this.
What? How I look?
Yeah. You're kind of looking a little bit like G. Gordon Liddy there.
Who's G. Gordon Liddy?
One of the Watergate guys.
Oh.
Ended up becoming a talk show host.
Oh.
Shaved head, mustache. Very similar face to yours. Only you look a little bit better.
Well, okay. Thanks for the compliment, I guess.
No man love there at all.
Okay, so now Brian is here as well, and Brian's been running a server for us, and it is it's been much more stable now that we've had the patch, hasn't it?
Yep. No more console errors popping up and bothering you when you want to play.
Yeah. How many people do you think can get on a server now with the patch?
I mean, it saves a lot of RAM currently, so I think it should be possible to host for 30 people or more.
Wow.
How? I thought they were just verifying 6.
Well, it's a matter of system resources as well. And so, yeah, the resources.
Got a big server.
Yeah, well, but not only that, but even with that big server, Brian, what was it before the patch? How much RAM had been used?
The maximum was something like 48, and I was seriously wondering about that because, yeah, it was crazy.
And that's gigs of RAM.
Yeah. Not megabyte.
Yeah. So now I think that the maps would be pretty crazy if we had 30 people on there. And I see that the new server options are co-op and PvP. And it just turns the players on or off on the map. But because it doesn't mention anything about killing each other, it just says whether or not they appear on the map.
Yep.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine big groups doing PvP?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think Evil that one of your fortresses could withstand a bunch of players coming at it and not just zombies?
Yes, absolutely. It depends on which version. There are several versions right now. I got 97 days on my first original build. That one I don't think could stand up to people. The second one, I've got a full-fledged castle going, and that's got 106 days. And right now I'm doing experimentation in the desert, and that one's got 36 days on it. And the desert one is a little bit tricky because everything is kind of brown and red, so you miss stuff really easily. And it's real easy to fall into a deep pit trap. And once you're in, you're not getting out. It's just too deep. So,
and that's another thing. Speaking of deep, I've thought about that also. Living underground, you might be very hard to find.
Yes, there's a few tricks I learned that would make it, if you don't put anything up on the outside, it would be very easy to hide a base. Very easy.
But then also you've got your, your defenses. Do you So what? Maybe you're just really reinforcing all of the walls on the outer portion, but you have to reinforce all sides unless you're all the way down at the bottom.
Well, the trick of it is find a defensible place from zombies. And I think once major PvP comes into play, you're going to see a lot of players putting in trap covers over their base entrances and making the bases completely underground. I really think that's going to end up being the way to go if you need a supply base.
I actually don't see much of the point of having anything up top, other than to get prepped to start digging.
Yeah, pretty much. And you just need 2 squares to effectively do that in this game. And I mean, you're going to see the biggest problem is the way the zombies are set up now. If you don't have torches out, they'll spawn really close to your base. And once they get going and start digging, they don't stop until they get you. So that can be problematic early.
But if you dig down far enough, though, they don't even pay any attention to you.
No, that's not been my experience.
Oh.
The new zombie code, they will take the fastest path to you. And if that path means that it's got to go up the side of a hill and around, a forest to get to you, that's what'll happen. Now, I have noticed if you get out of a certain range, they stop moving, which is kind of problematic when you're trying to lead them into pits.
Oh, they actually stop. Okay.
Yeah, if you get outside a certain range, they will actually stop moving, like wherever they are. And occasionally they'll especially in the desert, I found if you lead them into an area with a lot of cactuses and they hit a cactus, they start attacking the cactus because it did damage to them.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So, I see that Ego99 is saying that his friend bought the game but hasn't received the code yet. Yeah, no, I don't know how their support is. I think they're really overwhelmed that they've gotten much more
support than they expected.
Yeah, well, they got much more purchases and money being thrown at them than expected. Yeah,
time to hire some people.
Yeah, so kind of a lot of game companies have this problem, and in fact, when we pitch game companies, we tell them that we will have better customer service than they do, and that's one of the reasons why we should be selling their game. And it's quite interesting how they react whenever we tell them that, because most of them know it's a failing, and they're like, "Oh shit, somebody might make us look good." So. Well, while we're talking on the subject of servers, it looks like we can set any number of players. And in GUI mode, max players is always 8. What is GUI mode? Is that the client to client? Like a homemade server? Oh, in GUI mode. Yeah, okay. So this is where if I were playing in hosting, as opposed to a text only mode. Yeah. So, okay. So, and they say that 64 is valid, but that the max players can really be any number. So,
as long as your server can support it.
Wouldn't that? I wonder. Maybe Brian stepped away, but a question that I'd have is, can we back up our current play and then open up the server to where anybody can get in and then have just this mad PvP going on and rush everybody against everybody? And that could be really quite wild. Can you imagine inviting 64 people in? Just open it up, throwing it out there on a live stream saying, "Hey, come at me."
Especially after they increase the map size, because this is just the bare bones map. This isn't even their true map size if I understand what they're shooting for. I mean, isn't it supposed to be like 8 or 9 times the size of the current map?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, already you get lost on the map as is. I mean,
Well, if it's 8 or 9 times the size, then 64 players seems very reasonable.
yeah.
So I just think it could make for some great PvP action.
Yes.
Well, and it'll make for me dying a lot, I'm sure.
Well, that depends
I
on
would-
how creative you are.
I would have to put a delay on the stream, so
Yeah.
that because if that's how we're advertising to get people in by me streaming, then I'm going to be screwed. Although, Saint, what do you think? You think I should take a challenge like that? Bah. His mic
Is anybody
turned
here
off.
except for you and me?
Just you and me, buddy.
I'm sorry, but it mutes my mic when I'm not talking automatically.
Yeah.
I say do it. I think it'll be a good stress test on your server too to see what can actually be held. You know. And
Now I know that you've been playing.
yeah, I have.
And I think Yeti's been playing. Yeti has one of the funniest videos I've ever seen for 7 Days to Die, and it's where he shoots these guys that all of a sudden freak out and they become like statues, like Gumby statues. And yeah, their legs shoot out and their bodies get really big and they go into these funny positions. And
Oh, you're talking about the zombies?
yeah, these zombies.
Yeah,
after he kills
I
them,
witnessed that.
and then next thing you know, there's Yeti trying to imitate their positions on camera. It was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that was my experience as well with the 1.0 patch. After a certain period of time when you killed the zombies, I mean, because I would play for like 6-8 hours straight. Okay, I would start and I wouldn't stop until I like either fell asleep or the sun came up. And after a certain point, I don't know what the trigger was, but I would start shooting zombies and they would like get all twisted up and fly around and fly off into the trees and be hanging in the trees, and they'd be these thin little like if you were to take a balloon and let all the air out, and I mean it was just like that. And I haven't seen that in this patch, so maybe it was just a bug that they fixed, in the background. But I mean, it was the funniest thing to watch. It really was.
Yeah, funny stuff. So, they also added a difficulty thing. Between 1 and 10, limits the wave spawning to day X. I'm not sure what that means.
It means every day the spawn gets bigger and bigger, and you can limit the spawns to the size of day 1 or day 10.
Oh. Well,
I
you
think-
may as well just go day 10. The days go by
Yeah.
so fast. As it is. I mean, the only advantage of that is when you start the server is that you can get a little bit of defense set up.
Yeah.
But if it's going to be a whole full-on PvP thing, set it to 10. I mean,
Yeah.
let's just get the carnage going.
That would, if you got a bunch of people playing with you from the start, it would be very easy to set up a defense like in the first 20 minutes of playing the game. But after that, I mean, the way this game is set up, if you don't find high ground on that first night, you are hosed.
Well,
Yeah, just jump
I
on
mean-
top of a house.
I've had some experience with having a house in there for multiple nights. I think I lasted about 12 days without a house, just living out in the woods. Light is your biggest friend in that game.
Yes. Yes.
And
torches.
not even torches, making fire pits, because you don't need you don't really need resources to make fire pits. You just need one torch and it lights all your fire pits. It doesn't get rid of your torch.
Wait a sec. You can light campfires?
Yeah, you build the campfires with the logs. You
Yeah.
get logs and sticks. Drop down the campfires and light it with your torch, and it's actual larger radius than your torches.
Holy cow! I did not know that. I learned something new.
So I mean, I have a couple of videos where I lasted about 14 days, where just living out in the woods. They challenged me on my stream, and basically I had to live out there with only spikes or no spikes, just fisting zombies, and in about 4 days.
That did not sound right, dude.
I mean, I like fisting zombies. What's wrong with that?
Oh, dude, so wrong. So wrong.
But yeah, there's a couple of survival tips that I do know from just living out there in the woods. Though.
And zombies make wonderful pack rats.
Oh yeah.
They bring you the best loot.
Oh, really?
Yes, I always loot the zombies.
I don't
Absolutely.
loot them very often.
You have to loot every zombie. You get food, you get weapons, you get. You don't get a lot of resources other than like components to make landmines. You know, tin landmines in glass jars and stuff like that. But it also allows you to do cloth and stuff like that, so you can build up your amount of torches and whatnot.
I actually have a question. Maybe it would be a good roundtable discussion for that. What is the first thing that you thought of when you got in the world? Like, what was the first thing you wanted to learn to do?
Build some sort of wall around a specific area. Being able to build up an area.
Yeah, it's like shelter.
Yeah. I actually, the first thing I do is go straight for logs and sticks. And if I can get a hold of some scrap metal and make some ingots, I do that because tools in this game are your friend. An axe, if you're in a wooded area, is like gold, solid gold. Because as fast as you knock down those trees, as fast as you gather your resources, I mean, just getting the log cabin fortress built, just, you know, basic 8x8 square, at least 6 levels high, is your first priority, you know. And you got to get the torches going immediately as well. That's what saves your butt on that first couple of nights. And usually, actually, the other thing I like to get first, other than the axe, is a shovel. Because if you're in a hilly area, you can dig under a tree and it'll cause the tree to collapse and drop wood. So 2 strokes of the shovel or 6 strokes of the axe. You know.
Or 1 shot of a shotgun.
Yep, shotgun works well too.
Digging with a shotgun.
America!
Heck yeah!
Okay.
Where to go from here?
Well, no, I got more content. Is there you have more of your thoughts on, you know, what you're going for at first when I restart the game?
Well, my strategy really when I started, and it's been pretty well pretty well done strategy is there you can actually make window barricades out of very minimal resources. I believe it takes 6 wooden planks. You know, you take 6 wooden planks, you make wooden barricades. They have the strength of concrete blocks. So it takes if you put those on the outer wall of whatever you're on, you don't need to build a wall for the first 4 or 5 days, because the zombies won't break through that wooden planks as fast. So I basically lived on 4 days straight with just dirt walls and wooden planks on the outer exterior of those dirt walls, and survived without having any issues of them getting inside. And I'm not sure if they changed this in 1.1 or not, but they are that strong.
See, I didn't try wooden planks. I went straight for the log cabin logs.
And that was just basically my playthroughs on 7 Days to Die, was learning how to survive the longest with the minimal resources, because you get to a day 120, your loot's not going to respawn. So you really have to just use any renewable resources.
Wait, loot? What do you mean loot doesn't respawn after day 120?
I'm saying, like, the longer you last, the less loot's going to be in the world because you're using it all.
Yeah, but they do have backpack spawns.
Exactly, but I mean, let's you know, how many backpacks are you going to find along the way, and you can't pick them up and replace them.
Well, yeah, but the backpacks. This is something I noticed in my desert thing. Backpacks, because I would destroy the backpacks whenever I found them. So I would take the materials from them, and then I would destroy the backpacks. And so I know that I cleared the area of backpacks. You know,
Lisa does that too. She destroys all the trash, everything
Yeah.
I destroy the mailboxes after I destroy the mailbox. Hey, buddy, I'm muting you because I keep hearing you. Put a headset on. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I muted him too.
Okay, you're gone. So, whenever I've done a house or whatever, I do. Whenever I've looted the whole house, I'll actually destroy the mailbox. I think every house has a mailbox.
Yeah.
And the mailbox has metal.
Yeah.
So
my thing is the lamps outside the doors. That's that's how I make the determination of whether or not one has been looted or not. I'll take and destroy the lamps outside the doors because that gets you metal too, and it's only one strike. So. It's a matter of economy. That's something I was worried about because when I started my desert play, I was really worried about not having trees around and whatnot. But I found that the aged wood that's lying on the ground is just as effective for building like spike traps and stuff because you go from aged wood to old wood and then from old wood to old plywood and then from old plywood to sticks and then spikes, And it's actually, I think, more efficient to make spikes from that than from cutting down trees because all you're doing is picking them up. It's just running through the desert and picking up as many as you can as fast as you can. And I've found that it's pretty efficient that way. And I was really surprised at how bountiful the desert really is because all those little the little round cactuses that are just like 4 wings that you keep running into because they're so small you don't see them until you're on top of them. Those, if you whack those twice with an axe, there's a chance of getting 1 or 2 yucca fruit, which are they're really hard to see when they drop because they're so small, but it's basically the equivalent of blueberries. But it's totally hit or miss on whether or not those drop. You can also get those from cactuses, different parts of the cactus.
Can you get seeds from those? Can you plant more of them?
I have not seen seeds yet. I'm hoping that they do, because those also make an excellent defense. Because if you got a line of those, anything that runs into it is going to take damage, kind of like barbed wire.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the developers of the game, the first thing they need to do with the Alpha 2 release, or the Phase 2 Alpha, is they have to have a complete list of recipes for their recipe list, because when they released 1.1, they took lead ingots out for some reason, and it really annoyed the crap out of me. I went in and replaced it, but I think at Alpha Phase 2 they need to have a complete list of all the basic stuff in the game, and it has to be a hard list, and I think they need to make it so it cannot be edited. And then they need to start with a forum and set up this is your wish list for recipes we're adding with each point release. So every 2-3 weeks they come out with more recipes that the players came up with as ideas, and they're the only ones that edit the recipe list, because if we're doing PvP, it would be way easy to edit the recipe list and suddenly have 10 rocket launchers in your belt. I think that would totally break the game if they don't lock down that recipe list. And I mean, it can go from being a very fun PvP game where you actually have to go loot stuff and find stuff, to who's generated the most rocket launchers.
Yeah, and that's no fun. I mean, then you're playing like Doom.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody has a rocket launcher and is just shooting across at everybody, which is a fun game, but that's not what this game is.
Yeah,
so.
I think their primary concern should be making sure that list is complete to everything in the world, and then as they're adding more stuff, because I think the players should have some input on this. I mean, I'm not. Unlike the game we're working on with Neos Lands, I think this one needs to be restricted by the developers, because as far as games go, this is a completely different play style than what we're looking to do.
Mm-hmm. It's their
And-
vision too.
Yeah,
they need
it's
to
their
complete their vision.
Yes,
So,
and I keep seeing they're talking about more advanced equipment like power tools and stuff like that, and I am all for that. But I noticed on this first map, I don't know if you noticed, but I have yet to see copper ingots or copper ore. I don't know where they got it hidden, but I have
I've
dug
never come
pretty deep.
across any either.
Yeah, so
you know,
I'm
you need to
guessing
start taking the copper pipes out of the walls in the houses.
if they had it in there, I would totally be about that. But I think the resource sets need to be set up, and I honestly don't like the way they got the resources distributed in the game. The randomness of where you find like coal ore and potassium nitrate and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need to reset their map generation to.
Oh, so it
instead of-
runs in like veins or something like that?
Yes.
Something a little bit more...
Yes, because then the resources become much more valuable, much more valuable. Because if you have coal, you have a coal vein, but you don't have potassium nitrate, you can't make gunpowder. If you don't have lead and iron, you can't make shotgun shells or other ammunition types. And I mean, it then puts a motivator in the game, because if somebody finds a vein of iron, then they suddenly have a big advantage in tool making.
Yeah.
Now, I have no objections to random, every once in a while there's a little bit of iron in the stone.
Mm-hmm. Do you want it to be more like Minecraft is?
I've never played Minecraft,
Oh.
so I have
wow.
no point of reference.
Okay.
Whoa.
This is a not bad idea, I think. The resources like in Minecraft, so coal is more on the top, and lead ore, iron ore is more deeper. Why not?
Or
Diamonds are really deep.
or
If there would be a diamond.
Yeah.
coal ore tends to be horizontal veins.
Mm-hmm.
So finding coal ore not only allows you to have the resource of the coal, but it also allows a large open area underground.
Mm-hmm.
So you suddenly open up a base really quickly. You have a defensible position in that coal vein.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that would be it caused you to think about things in a little bit different way too.
Yeah.
If a vein's going sideways, diagonal down, then you can end up digging that way, whether or not you intended on digging down there or not. But if you want the stuff, you're going to follow it.
Yep.
So,
And I think they need more types of cover in the game.
what do you mean? What do you mean cover?
Okay, as of right now, there are two things that I found that you can get that allow you to cover a entrance. One is a desert shrub. It's like Desert Shrub 03. I don't know whether it was intentional pickup or not, but you can hit it with the axe, and it will become a little item, and you can pick it up, and you can replant it other places. So you can put a row of them in front of a pit trap, and if somebody's not paying attention, all of a sudden they go over into the pit trap. The other thing you can do is when you have spikes set up, like large quantities of spikes, especially in wooded areas, I noticed that they transform, when they're completely destroyed, they transform into this orangish leaf pattern, and it's a pick-upable item. It's a trapdoor cover. But it stands out as an orange because it's completely different from all the other colors in the game. But it's, an orange cover, and you can put it over spike traps. Zombies won't see the spike trap.
Oh, interesting.
So they'll just run right over it and fall in.
Have they fixed when I'm placing spikes that I don't accidentally stab myself in the head sometimes?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, that's one bug that really annoys me.
I don't think it's a bug. I think it's just a function of.
I shouldn't be able to place spikes in the middle of the air.
Yeah, like on the grass or so. Yeah.
Yeah, it should require that it's on a surface.
Yeah.
Other than my head.
Well, the problem is a lot of times with that you're standing on grass.
Right.
The first thing I do in an area when I'm placing spikes is get rid of the grass, because I've killed myself more times with that than zombies have killed me.
Yeah. Did you guys see? Are any of you Mac fans?
No.
There is now a Mac client.
Yes.
It depends. The Mac is good for graphic design, I think. And I like it.
but I just Mac community is what, about 8% of the computer market, something like that. It's not a huge thing, but it's the second biggest behind PC.
Yeah.
And then Linux is probably what, 3%, 4%, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty small. Anyway, they added a Mac version, which I think is good because there's actually a lot less games available for Mac. And so that might actually get them, quite a few sales off of that. So I just think that that's really good. They added some new recipes for brick, decayed brick, pavers, and redwood.
I didn't test it yet, so I will do it on Saturday.
I haven't messed with the brick either.
Hallelujah, they fixed the console errors.
Yes.
Yes. So that was very difficult to play with.
Yeah.
And it was every time we picked up a rock, an ore, that the console would freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And it would freak out on the person who was operating the game, not the person picking it up. So it's like way to grief another player.
And most of the time it was your wife doing the griefing.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
She is a prolific collector of resources.
She's quite the builder. She
Yes.
builds some amazing things, and speaking of building amazing things, for the Neosland show that's coming up later today, there's some amazing news there.
No? Is there a video I can go watch?
Not saying anything yet. I'm gonna let Jacques spill the beans. So, let's see here. Fixed damage delay on spike traps for a player. Duplicate item exploit fixed. There was a lot of people. The dupe thing was real easy to do.
Oh yeah.
And you would do it on accident, in fact. And really, what was it? It was just that you put something back into your inventory in the belt.
Yeah. If you brought it out of the belt and you had one space open in the belt, and then you would drag it from the inventory box back to your belt in a different location that was empty, you would get your original resources back and that resource.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they fixed it, because while it was fun to try to break the game, now that that's no longer there, it actually makes the game more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Fixed bug that when placing chest, it was filled with loot.
Never experienced that.
Neither did I.
Though I will say, I noticed there's a difference if you place a chest in a forested area or a town area, you get cobwebs. If you place it in the desert area, you get nothing in there.
Oh, no, that's interesting.
I don't know whether that's intentional or a change from the... I'll have to log on to my... because I haven't done the... Whenever they come out with a point release, I start a new map. Just to see the differences from start, and I'll go back into my castle which is on the edge of the burnt zone and the forest zone up on the scenic overlook, and I will take and try placing a chest to see if they just took the cobwebs out entirely or whether it's based on area. Because it's an observation I had, and I'm not sure whether or not that's actually what happens or not. I just noticed that I get no cobwebs in the desert when I'm placing chests.
Have you guys ever seen a zombie dance?
Yes, but only
No.
briefly as it died on the spikes.
But I've seen zombies flying since the last patch.
Well, they say that they fixed a bug that zombies dance on stairs. Well, maybe they talk about like getting stuck and just bouncing.
Yeah.
I just, I'm like, what, are they breakdancing? Are they, square
It's-
dancing?
Kind of like a jumping up and down, sort of an aerobics thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Very Jane Fonda.
Oh, okay, that goes way
Looks
back.
about as good, too.
Yeah, and fat zombies broke the stairs. And they
Yeah,
fixed
fell
it.
through it.
It's not happening anymore.
Yeah. Welcome, No Way.
Thank you, Marky. What's up?
Let's see.
Just another day in the hood with the fun pimps.
Oh, the fun pimps,
And
yeah.
and today there was the version A released of 1.1.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
but that was just a
What?
security
Yeah.
patch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, last night.
Okay.
Basically, it no longer transmitted your password to the server. It was held on your local registry in a encrypted file.
No kidding. So it was transmitting our passwords to a dedicated server whenever
Yes.
we logged in?
Red
Yes.
Ox server.
Wow. So, Brian, how many accounts did you hack?
You
Just
had
kidding.
you had to modify the client to able to get the info out of it.
Yeah.
It was not a log file that you just could open and get the IPs or the passwords from someone.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's.
But-
I wonder how many accounts they got compromised from people offering, open world accounts and then everybody logging in. So, not that we have a whole lot on our accounts that really makes any difference at this point. It's not like we have some global inventory that travels with us from server to server.
Yeah.
But
There's also this, I think, is part of this was to cut down on the copying of the software, the pirating of the software. Because if you don't know the password for somebody's account, you can't.
oh,
Because it still logs you into the internet before you can play the game. The final version, you're not going to have to do that, but at this point in their system, it appears to me, I mean, I could be wrong, Brian could probably enlighten us more on this, but it appears they're keeping track of how many copies are pirated and whatnot by how many people log in under certain user accounts.
yeah.
Now, the only thing that happens is that once you log in, you send a request to the server, and the server checks if your account and password is in the database, and if so, you can log in. If not, you couldn't. And it's quite easy to edit the client at this point to just bypass that and makes the client think that your account
The game was
shit is in
cracked
there.
within hours of being released.
Yeah.
And which is really a shame. I hate that kind of stuff. I found religion on that after one of our applications was hacked, and then they were redistributing it with other stuff in it, and I was like, "What the hell?"
Well,
Supporting
last
the
week you
devs-
could. Oh, go ahead.
Supporting the devs is a very important thing, so that's why you pay.
Yeah, well, that's how we get the game. I mean,
Yeah.
if they don't make any money, they don't make any more game.
Well, I think they got the money portion covered on that one.
Well, it still doesn't give an excuse for anybody to
I'm not
running a
saying
hacked
it's an
version.
excuse. I'm just saying in this particular game, I'm not too worried about it.
Mhm.
They made their $500,000 Kickstarter just in the nick of time, and a lot of us that missed the Kickstarter paid the $35. I mean, I had absolutely no problem. So when I saw you do the gameplay of this, I was like, that's a game I want to play. My first impression of that was the exact opposite of Dragon's Prophet. I mean, I support this game like 110%. I love this game, and as long as they continue on a path where it makes it even more playable, you don't have to have the bells and whistles like the bosses and the mutants and all that. Not early on. I'm sure there'll be a wider player base if you add that stuff in. However, as long as they continue to make it more playable and add more recipes, I think the big thing for multiplayer is the locking down the recipe file. I think that's what's going to be the key to that.
It should be server-sided and not client-sided. That's the whole issue.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of how they do it, I'm just saying that they need to lock it down if you're doing multiplayer. You know, I like the idea of server-side because then you can have servers that say no firearms or no
Exactly.
No snipers.
No snipers.
No snipers.
No rocket.
Oh wait, that's a different
Agreed.
game we've been asking for that in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the sniper rifle is not that bad in this game as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to take out all the weapons except for rocket launchers, and everyone has to use rocket launchers against each other.
And I think somewhere in their game they added power to TNT.
What do you mean,
I think,
added power?
I think it's more powerful now. I don't know
Oh.
whether it actually is. Maybe it's where I was doing it. But in my castle, I'm in the second game I started, the one I got 106 days in. I dug a moat with TNT. Literally around the entirety of the scenic hilltop, I put a empty moat just to dig resources, and I noticed the explosive effect of the TNT appears to be higher than in the original point release.
I will test it later.
Brian can tell us for sure.
The only thing about TNT, I hate how it takes your resources. I wish that they would, when it blows up, that it would leave at least some of it.
You know,
Yeah.
I think when things are destroyed like that, like you have a stack of sand fall, or I think it should be like trees, where all the resources are there for a brief period of time, and you just have to go as fast as you can, because then it gives you incentive not to do. Like I was doing like line charges, like around my castle. Like I would set up like 150 units of TNT and have the lighter on one end and watch it go. And that's how I dug. And it exposed so many resources so fast. But I'm sure it destroyed as many too. I mean, I wouldn't do that if I knew that I was going to get all the stone dropping. I would use the TNT one at a time,
Right.
and go gather up all the resources.
You won't do like No Way did and use a couple hundred barrels of oil.
Where the hell do you get a couple hundred barrels
He
of
blew
oil?
them all
split
up
them
at
now.
once.
I
can-
used creative mode.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
a
Pretty
split them,
awesome
Marcus.
video. You can
Is-
split them?
Yeah, you can split one barrel of oil to 9 gas
6 gas.
tanks.
Yeah,
Oh,
gas
okay.
tanks, but you cannot
6
blow them
or
up.
9.
Not that much, I guess.
Yeah, but it's important. You need them
Yeah.
still for
See,
the
but
order
okay.
and
It's
chainsaw.
so much easier to make.
Well, guys, we are pretty much out of time for this episode. And so that is it for today on 7 Days to Die. Next show coming up is Nether, and we're going to show some new gameplay video. And so if you're watching live, hang on, don't go anywhere. We'll be back top of the hour with Nether Roundtable. And you can feel free to join our hangout if you're watching live and get in on that. And so everybody else in YouTube land, well, you just have to wait for the video for the next episode to come out. So, yeah. Okay.
Excuse me.
Be back shortly, everybody.
Where